Not the type of video I wanted to be making on the eve of Gather Round, but two players are out injured. Let's talk about it. Now, news has just come out that Jordan Goey and Lachie Schultz are injured leading into Gather Round and the next few games. Now, Jordan Goey was subbed out at around three-quarter time or so last week for Ned Long. Ned Long came on. And when Jordan Goey got subbed, they were saying tactical sub, tactical sub. There's no injury, all good, no stress. News has just come out that he has some inflammation around his Achilles and ankle, and they're hoping it's 1 week. So, hoping it's 1 week and it being 1 week are two very different things. We know the Achilles can be a major problem, and ankle can be a major problem. We've seen numerous players with foot injuries, like look at Tom Mitchell, that have just gotten worse as it's progressed. So touch wood, it is only 1 week, but that's something to keep an eye on. So Jordan Goey will miss Gather Round this year, which is, oh man, he was flying. He was flying after coming back. Jordan Goey's body at the moment is just not holding up for him, and it's really, really sad. But again, let's just hope that best case is that it's just 1 week and he's back to take on the Lions Easter Thursday next week. So that's the one thing, right? That's not too bad because it's 1 week. But Lachie Schultz has injured his hamstring during a training session. So he's out for 2 to 3 weeks. Now, I can't remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, when was the last time a Collingwood player had a hamstring injury? I remember we were synonymous for hamstring injuries. It was always those hamstrings that were keeping players grounded. And now I can't remember the last time we had one. And now Lachie Schultz has one after getting a perfect 10 in the coaches' votes and has had an incredible year so far. These last, these 4 games, or maybe not the Western Sydney game, these chunk of 3 games has been insanely good. And now he's going to miss at least 2 games, at most 3 games if healing is right. So he's out for Gather Round, Sydney. He's out for the Brisbane game on Easter Thursday. And if it's 3 weeks, he's out for Anzac Day. That's a chunk of 3 really, really, really important games that he won't be there for. And it's disappointing because he's had such a good year so far. That's why it's so freaking disappointing. And now we're going into Gather Round without Goey, without Lachie Schultz, and without Dan Houston. Oh my God. When it rains, it fucking pours, doesn't it? When it rains, it absolutely pours. Now, last year, we were dealt injuries after injuries after injuries. I'm hoping that epidemic has gone now, that plague and that curse has gone now, and these are just, they seem to be just things that kind of have popped up, and we should be able to get on top of it. If we start seeing more hamstrings, then there's something going on. But now it's the question of how can we change this? What happens, right? Is it just like for likes, or do they try new things out? Do they reward some guys who have done really well in the VFL? And this is how I see it. For Gather Round, we have to make 3 forced changes. So Dan Houston comes out. I think they bring Will Hoskin-Elliott in. Jordan Goey comes out. You would think that Ned Long comes straight into the best 22, and then Ed Allen comes into the team to be the sub, because Ed Allen played, I think, about half a game in the VFL, and so did Will Hoskin-Elliott, played half a game in the VFL. But then the biggest question is, what do you do with the forward line? That's the biggest question, isn't it? That's the absolute biggest question, because Lachie Schultz is more than just a forward. He's a defensive forward. He's a high half forward that's tackling and all that pressure and all those sort of the 1%ers and the pressure acts that he does that go unnoticed. No one is really doing that in the team at the moment as well as him. Bo McCreary has had a down year, so he's not doing as well as Lachie Schultz is. So who in the VFL can do that? That's the big question. The perfect player would have been Harvey Harrison, I would have felt. The next player that it could be, but then again, these guys have played full games in the VFL. You could look at bringing in someone like a Will Hayes maybe for a debut, or do you bring Mason Cox, who did only play about 3/4 in the VFL, but then Are you going to go way too tall? Would you, against the Sydney side, and it's going to be about 29 or so degrees, nearly 30 degrees on the Friday when we play. Are you really going to have a side that's going to have Cox, Myercheck, Membry, Cameron, McStay, Billy Frampton? Are you really going to do that? I don't think so. It has to be like for like. I know Cox kicked 3 goals in the VFL, but it has to be like for like. What you could do possibly is have Will Hoskin-Elliott in that half forward role, so replacing Lachie Schultz, and we know Will Hoskin-Elliott can play that role. You bring Ed Allen fully into the team, Ned Long fully into the team, and then have Lachie Sullivan as your sub, or you have Markov as your sub. I know they both played full games in the VFL, but that's how I see it working out, because it needs to really be like for like. You're not going to bring Mason Cox back into this team. Even though he had a good game, it's just not going to work out with the tools that we already have in this side. I would like to see a Will Hayes debut. I'd love to see Charlie West debut, but that's not what we need right now. We need a pressure forward that's going to work their asses off in the role that they're telling to, and Will Hoskin-Elliott can be that guy, and that's what I'm looking into. A bit more injury news now is it looks like they're saying that Tom Mitchell is no longer experiencing plantar fasciitis symptoms and continues to progress reloading his ankle, so he'll start running in the next few weeks. Harvey Harrison, they say, is progressing well and he's commencing another running program and he will do some light work. Obviously, Reef McGuinness, they're saying that he will commence a gym-based program to build on his strength over the next 4 to 6 weeks. But the bright light is that Ash Johnson, who we saw in the VFL video, was there with a moon boot. The club expects Johnson to return to play within the next 6 to 8 weeks. So that means that he's not going to be on the long-term injury list like I thought, which is good. So 6 to 8 weeks only brings him to, rounds 10 to 12, which is really nice. So mid-season, so you've probably given that mid-season break, and then he comes back into the VFL to sort of get that return to work going. So that's really good. I thought it was going to be a way longer injury, so that's very good news there. But that Lachie Schultz and Jordan De Goey news is devastating. Jordan De Goey not so much because it's just a week, but the Lachie Schultz one is the one that's killing me. 2 to 3 weeks, and it's no fault of anyone. It's no fault of anyone. It's just the way the cookie crumbles, unfortunately. And I am, so frustrated. But, it is what it is, right? And we will be able to replace him. It's not going to be the same and what Lachie Schultz can do. We've won without Jordan De Goey before. We were winning, without Lachie Schultz playing as well as he did last season. So players come in there, they play their role. I think I've got, that right mix of who I said. So it'll be those sort of players around there. Bring on the Swannies. Bring absolutely on the Swannies. It sucks, but it could be much, much worse. Until then, like, comment, subscribe, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your pets, and until next time, double shackers. I'll soup you later.